Okay, thank you so much for listening to this today. My research paper that I wrote is on finding accountability for students belonging in schools. Although belonging is a pretty popular term that we're using right now, there's not a lot of clear ways that people are necessarily measuring it. Particularly in schools. I actually just recently attended a school board meeting for the Meade District, and one of the board members spoke really passionately about Meade School District taking an interest in belonging and that becoming one of their main areas of focus for the school year and helping every student belong in Meade School District. And he shared a heartwarming story about his son who did not belong and was often lonely and sometimes bullied in the school district. And so that's one of the reasons that he decided to join the board, was to make sure that doesn't happen for other students. So with the emotional ties to belonging and the obvious need that everybody has for belonging, I wanted to go into how school districts can make belonging more of a metric. And I am curious about how I'll be able to do that when my, time comes in the fall, when I go back to school and start implementing some kind of intervention. I'd like to stage it to address the needs of students and belonging. So with no further ado, one of the things that came up during my research was past efforts to measure school success. The largest past effort to measure school success in recent times is the 2001 No Child Left Behind Act. That used standard-based education to see how well schools are doing. But beyond standard-based education, more research is encouraging schools in the current climate to consider additional emphasis on the value of mental health and the overall student well-being in schools. One determining factor of student well-being can be viewed as belonging. This is a great video that I found on what belonging is. I'm just going to play the first minute here, as I feel like the school district that put this together did a great job of explaining the definition here. Give me just a sec.
Anything else special happened this weekend, friends? Anything else special happened this weekend, friends?
In the pool, I did a cannonball. I know how to swim. I swim. I do. Me too.
As human beings, one of the most essential needs we have is the need to belong. In school, children need a sense of belonging to be able to be productive learners. They need to be connected to their fellow students, connected to their teachers, to also be affirmed in who they are in a way that is positive and accepting. In a belonging classroom, there's a community being explicitly built. The teacher knows each child and things about each of those children that they can mention and draw on.
I pay attention. I'm really invested in what they tell me. The students feeling loved, feeling nurtured. Students feeling like they have a place at school, they're safe. It activates their brain cells.
Okay, I'm going to stop right there. I do encourage you to watch the rest of the video after the presentation, but there's some great language in there explaining belonging, being loved and nurtured, feeling like there's a place for them. There's some more research on belonging in recent times. Actually, a lot of this can be found in the Ask a Professional School Counseling journals. The impact of belonging is tantamount. Belonging indirectly influences student academic and social and emotional experiences, i.e. sense of safety, lack of connectedness, in fact, numerous studies provide evidence for the positive relationships between healthy school climates with belonging and student self-concept, self-esteem, attachment to school, and flourishing across multiple domains, whether it's social or emotional or academic. These are some of the main points of interest in our ASCA standards. And belonging is definitely something that can seep into each of those standards, whether it's academic, social, or emotional. Now with school districts, everybody wants belonging. Like I said, it's definitely part of pop psychology nowadays, but how do we know when we have it? So that's my general problem here for the research paper, because most school districts have low to no modes of staying accountable of the students' levels of belonging in schools. There's a lack of data there. So the potential for a lack of this belonging because of there's no data can put students at a greater risk for an overall lowered well-being. And in turn, it becomes a huge missed opportunity to provide other protective factors to students' academic performance and social lives. So the lack of data is the risk here in having a lower well-being, just because there is no way to measure belonging that schools are implementing right now, or at least a lot of them. Definitely the school I'm working at doesn't currently have a metric for doing that. Now with ASCA's Call to Belonging, like I stressed before, this is something they wrote in 2003. One of the major goals of comprehensive school counseling programs is to help nurture safe schools and healthy learning environments. And the research on the effectiveness of belonging shows that, feelings of mattering to peers and adults requires the constant nurturing through a strengths enhancing environment, whether it's formal or informal mentoring. So that's something, that goes along with that call from ASCA that I found in the research. There are some guiding questions here for the more specific question of the research proposal paper. There's 3 questions that I particularly highlighted that I'd like to start with in order to kind of narrow down what my intervention is going to be for belonging. The first question that I came up with is, what are the current attitudes of the students about belonging and mattering in the school environment? So that would simply be something that could be measured at the beginning of the school year. The next question I put down was, what kinds of support can be reasonably expected from teachers or administrators or community stakeholders for that matter to encourage collecting and using data for a metric like belonging in school. So again, that's part of it, is not just collecting that data, but having the support behind collecting it. Because without teacher buy-in, then we're not going to be able to collect reasonable data. And so with that comes the expectation that there's going to be some kind of a reason to it, something that can be reasonably accomplished. So again, we really want to narrow and scale that metric down into something that can be reasonably done at the beginning of the school year and have that buy-in. And then the last question that I have is, how can belonging be measured before and after interventions to encourage belonging within school? So when we talk about measures, yes, there's a lot of ways to do it, but what's going to be the best way for that particular school? Is it going to be a pre and post test? Is it going to be a survey? And then who's going to take it? The parents, the students, the teachers. These are all questions that are going to help guide my research as I go forward with the emphasis on belonging. So when we talk about results here, introducing student well-being data like belonging as a dimension of school climate assessment affords educators valuable information, and particularly for school counselors. It helps assess student happiness in schools and broadens the scope and depth of program evaluation and related accountability practices. So again, that big word accountability is in there. And the whole point is to make a bigger picture of the students' overall well-being besides their grades and besides, the more tangible aspects of their well-being. So this is just something I wanted to stress here. Eventually, I'd like to come up with an intervention that focuses on everyone belonging here. And I really would like that to be the main overall mantra. And that was really something that I feel like is going to help lead me in my research. But that's the overall statement that I heard at that board meeting for the Meade School District that night. And that's the, again, the mantra that I want to carry on this research with, is to find an intervention that really lets that message be heard through all students in the K-5 grades that I work with within the school for the 2024-2025 school year. And that's it for my problem statement. If you guys have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. All right, thanks.